Welcome to Civil Defiance. Tonight we confront a truth too toxic for the Uni-Party to acknowledge. The state has forfeited its monopoly on force. And where the state fails to deliver justice, the digital frontier will seize it. We're talking about decentralized retribution, the inevitable arrival of the DAO of Justice. These are global, anonymous, cryptographic organizations that pool untouchable capital to execute judgments against political figures, corporate criminals, and regulatory tyrants, all outside the jurisdiction of your crumbling legal systems. With me tonight, confronting this terrifying reality, are three minds. Elara, a specialist in international law, Sienna, an expert on blockchain governance and cryptography, and Clara, a political ethicist focused on societal consent. Elara, let me start with the core thesis. Is the state's failure to prosecute the truly powerful, the corrupt elements of the Uni-Party, not just creating a vacuum, but actively demanding that a new chaotic form of justice fill it?
Otto, the term forfeit implies a deliberate choice, but the reality is more structural. The globalized, anonymous nature of high-level financial crime has simply outpaced the nation-state's jurisdictional capacity. A DAO of Justice is terrifying because it formalizes this loophole. It's not vigilantism, it's an autonomous, self-funding legal black hole. The moment a group of anonymous stakeholders pools 500 million tons in crypto under a smart contract designed to reward the exposure or punishment of a targeted individual, say, a bank CEO who orchestrated a bailout, you have created a shadow sovereign entity. The legal framework simply collapses. The targets are international, the funds are untraceable, and the action is self-executing. The system you despise, Otto, has indeed bred its own successor state, and it is a digital monster we cannot regulate.
Elara, you're focusing on the legal vacuum, but the technology is the enabler. DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations, remove the need for human trust, which is precisely why the Uni-Party finds them so threatening. In a DAO of Justice, the decision-making process, the vote on the target, the allocation of the bounty, is written into the code. It is impartial code, divorced from political lobbying or personal compromise. For the first time, justice can be programmatic and borderless. This is a direct response to the perceived corruption of established political and judicial systems. The people see the Uni-Party protecting itself, and they are seeking an immutable ledger for accountability. The technological capability is ahead of any ethical or legal restraint we can conceive of. The threat is real. It allows for crowdsourced, high-value, incentivized, anonymous retribution, a lethal combination for anyone currently protected by government immunity or geographical complexity.
I agree. The technological capacity is here, Sienna. But we must frame this as an ethical, societal catastrophe. A DAO of justice represents the total disintegration of the social contract. The state's monopoly on legitimate violence is the single defining feature of civilization. When a DAO takes over that role, you don't get justice. You get algorithmically incentivized chaos. The targets won't be limited to proven criminals. They will expand to political opponents, whistleblowers, or simply anyone who offends the DAO's anonymous majority. Who writes the code? Who votes? The entire system is built on anonymous, unearned moral authority. The civil defiance we seek, Otto, is the peaceful, intellectual, and organizational opposition to the Uni-Party. A DAO of justice is the opposite. It's a surrender to chaos, a confirmation that we have failed to organize intelligently and must resort to borderless digital vigilantism. It guarantees the end of the rule of law.
Clara, with all due respect, the rule of law already ended when the Uni-Party decided they were above it. The very legitimacy you speak of was destroyed the moment they leveraged power for self-enrichment, manufactured crises, and ensured that no politician or banker ever faced a genuine, life-altering consequence for collapsing the global economy or stripping us of our liberties. The DAO of Justice is not a surrender to chaos. It is the scream of the desperate. It's the only form of accountability that the borderless corrupt elite who operate on an anonymous high-tech financial level will actually understand. You can't sue a smart contract. You can't lobby a line of code. The state failed to adapt to the digital age of corruption, and now the digital age is offering a brutal, non-negotiable form of retribution as a service. And frankly, for many victims of the Uni-Party systemic malfeasance, that service is looking terrifyingly necessary. The question isn't whether it's ethical. The question is, do the powerful deserve immunity from their own creation?
Otto, that visceral reaction is understandable, but your remedy is anarchy by automation. When we look at existing legal attempts to grapple with DAOs, and they are failing, trust me, the only tool a state has is to impose general partnership liability on all token holders. This means an anonymous participant in a DAO of Justice could be personally liable for billions in damages or face criminal charges in their home jurisdiction, even if the target is in a different country. The Uni-Party might not stop the DAO, but they will hunt the participants in the real world. This isn't just about code, Sienna. The code executes in the physical world. Who enforces the justice? They have to hire agents, mercenaries, or hackers, people who are traceable and who will eventually flip under pressure. The DAO might be a legal black hole, but its operations cast a massive shadow, and traditional intelligence agencies are not as obsolete as you'd like to believe. The state will sacrifice the concept of privacy to preserve its power, ensuring that while the crypto is decentralized, the consequences are brutally centralized upon the participants. The danger is that the Uni-Party will use the threat of the DAO to justify the total surveillance state.
But Elara, that assumption relies on the state's ability to break unbreakable encryption and successfully de-anonymize every participant. The next generation of DAOs will be deployed on privacy-focused blockchains designed precisely to prevent that legal exposure. We're moving beyond simple token holdings. We're looking at zero-knowledge proofs, ZKPs, being used to prove you voted or contributed funds without revealing your identity. This creates a firewall against the partnership liability you mentioned. Furthermore, the nature of the retribution will evolve. It won't just be physical. It will be epistemic and financial. Imagine a DAO that targets a corrupt regulator's personal offshore accounts, freezes them irreversibly via a smart contract exploit, and then publishes every single compromising communication they've ever sent. That is immediate, financially crippling, and doesn't require a physical agent. The Uni-Party's power is built on financial opacity. The DAO of Justice uses programmatic transparency as its weapon. They are fighting the 21st century problem of corruption with 18th century jurisdiction, and they are losing. The only way the Uni-Party defends itself is by trying to outlaw the fundamental cryptographic tools that enable true privacy, which is the ultimate civil defiance battle we must all prepare for.
Sienna, you're romanticizing technological inevitability over human tragedy. Let's step back from the code and look at the victim. We are talking about the total destruction of due process. Who investigates the accusation? A vote on a DAO? That's mob rule quantified. Who defends the accused? An automated public key? The state, flawed as it is, and I concede the Uni-Party has pushed it to near illegitimacy, at least provides the framework for appeal, for evidence, for defense counsel. A DAO of Justice offers a verdict and then immediately executes the sentence, whether it's financial ruin or something worse. This creates a state of permanent terror for anyone in power or anyone critical of the DAO. It is a chilling effect that stops not just corruption, but legitimate dissent. The end goal of civil defiance is always to build a better, more just system, not to revert to the Hobbesian war of all against all, but with computers. The only moral imperative here is to demand that the Uni-Party fixes its judicial system before the digital executioners take over. They must restore trust, or face the logical collapse you describe.
Clara, the Uni-Party cannot fix it because the corruption is the feature, not the bug. Their power is guaranteed by the complexity of the legal system, which is too expensive for the average citizen to use against them. The DAO of Justice democratizes the cost of retribution, turning accountability into an open source movement. It's a terrifying lever, but it is one that exists because the rule of law became the rule of the elite. We are simply debating the inevitable next step. And speaking of what is necessary,
Hey listeners, Clara here. I know Otto has all of us hanging on the edge of a philosophical and legal cliff tonight. The conversation about the DAO of Justice is the kind of boundary-walking topic civil defiance thrives on, and we need more of them. We're fighting the Uni-Party's cognitive gerrymandering, and that means bringing up the issues they actively censor. What is the one thing you believe the powerful fear the most? Is it a new technology, a philosophy, a coordinated community action? Send us your most controversial, well-researched, and destabilizing topic suggestions. We will turn your fear into firepower for the next episode. Don't be timid. Be defiant. Send your ideas now, and let's get back to this firestorm.
let's pivot to the collapse of state sovereignty. Max Weber defined the state by its monopoly on legitimate violence. When the DAO successfully executes retribution, it is fundamentally demonstrating the state's illegitimacy, not its inability to stop it, but its moral failure to prevent the need for it. Elara, what happens when a DAO successfully targets, say, a high-ranking intelligence official, someone protected by state immunity, and financially or reputably destroys them? The state is then forced to admit to the world that an anonymous, cryptographically secured mob has achieved an act of sovereignty within its borders that the state itself failed to control. This is the Uni-Party's existential nightmare. It exposes them as administrators of a fiction. The only response they have is to declare the entire digital sphere an enemy combatant, leading to the regulatory collapse Sienna predicted.
The response will be far more surgical than a declaration of war on the internet, Otto. The Uni-Party will use existing international anti-terrorism and money laundering statutes. They will successfully pressure the few, regulated on-ramps and off-ramps, the major crypto exchanges, to isolate the funds. They will not hunt the code. They will hunt the data scientists who wrote the vulnerable code, the exchange administrators who facilitated the conversion, and the token holders who used fiat currencies in the past. This creates an asymmetric war. The DAO has perfect digital anonymity, but the state has total physical and legal control over its territory. The cost of participation in the DAO becomes astronomically high for any citizen of a Western democracy. The DAO of Justice, in its current form, will be a perpetual, high-stakes game of chicken between anarcho-capitalists and the surveillance state. The Uni-Party may lose the ethical high ground, but they retain the ability to apply physical coercion, and that is still the ultimate trump card against any decentralized entity.
Elara, you're describing the first war. We're talking about the second. The next generation of DAOs will use non-custodial wallets and atomic swaps to entirely bypass the regulated exchanges you rely on. They will use smart contracts to enforce retribution through decentralized finance, DeFi, flash loans, and synthetic assets, targeting the financial integrity of institutions themselves, not just individual people. For example, shorting the stock of a Uni-Party-backed corporation into oblivion based on cryptographically verified, published internal documents. The retribution is financial devastation, not physical capture. The DAO of Justice becomes an automated financial weapon of mass disruption. This is the only language the global financial elite, who fund the Uni-Party, truly understand. The state's response, mass surveillance and regulation, will only accelerate the exodus of capital and talent into the truly decentralized black markets, ironically making the DAO's operations even more effective and harder to prosecute.
The acceleration into digital black markets is precisely the moral collapse I fear. We are sacrificing the core value of human justice, the possibility of redemption and rehabilitation, for the cold, unforgiving finality of code. A smart contract cannot understand context, or motive, or accidental error. It simply executes a predetermined sentence. A DAO of justice is the ultimate tyranny of the algorithm. It solidifies a permanent, unforgiving victim/punisher relationship, one that is impossible to negotiate with, appeal, or forgive. The Uni-Party's sin is institutional hypocrisy. The DAO's sin is institutional nihilism. It claims to seek justice, but it only delivers vengeance without accountability for its own errors. The philosophical disaster here is that we are trading one flawed sovereign, the state, administered by the Uni-Party, for a sovereign that is flawless in its execution, but morally blind in its judgment. Which is the greater threat to civilization? I argue the latter, because it removes the very human element of mercy that keeps societies from collapsing into unending cycles of vengeance.
Clara, mercy is the luxury of the strong, and the Uni-Party has proven themselves neither just nor strong, only deeply corrupt. The DAO of Justice is the necessary destructive force that proves to the globalist elite that they can no longer hide behind complexity and jurisdictional loopholes. It is a terrifying mirror held up to the face of a failing civilization. The only way to prevent its rise is to force the Uni-Party to dismantle the corruption that necessitated it in the first place, to force transparency, to dismantle regulatory capture, and to actually allow the short clock justice system to hold the long clock criminals accountable. Since they refuse, the DAO is the inevitable ghost in their machine. We must understand it, if not endorse it. The fight for civil defiance must be total, confronting the corruption in the physical world, the financial world, and now the digital world. This is not the end of the state. It is the reckoning of the state, administered by the very technology the Uni-Party failed to control. This is the line in the sand. The failure of the Uni-Party created the problem. The digital age created the weapon. Before you confront this reality, you need to arm yourself with the truth. Subscribe and follow the Civil Defiance channel on Spotify right now. Do not let the digital noise silence this conversation. Hit that follow button. We are pushing the most volatile information on the planet. Next week, we expose the ghost economy, the trillion-dollar cost of innovation that the Uni-Party deliberately buried to protect their corporate sponsors. Do not miss it. I am Otto Bismarck. The clock is running. Make your time count.